back in session from executive session. I'll need a motion to adjourn.
I motion to adjourn from executive session.
Moved and seconded. I need a roll call.
Mayor Lee,
Aye.
Commissioner Vetter,
Aye.
Commissioner Simmons,
Aye.
Commissioner Homan,
Aye.
Commissioner DeBras.
Aye.
Next up on our agenda is proclamation for Bike Week. Commissioner Holman is a very avid biker, and we've got Jim. Yep, there he is. Come on up.
It's Bike Month,
Bike
not
Month,
Bike Week.
I'm sorry. Exactly right.
You get a month,
Yeah, a whole month.
a whole month, that's right.
Well, they do it all year, so. You want the mic? Yes.
Perfect.
Yeah.
All right, so this is a proclamation about Bike Month, not Bike Week or Bike Day, whole month. So, whereas, for more than a century, the bicycle has been an important part of the lives of most Americans. And whereas, today, millions of Americans engage in bicycling as an environmentally sound form of transportation, an excellent form of fitness, and as a quality family recreation activity. And whereas the education of cyclists and motorists as to the proper and safe operation of bicycles is important to ensure the safety and comfort of all users. And whereas the League of American Bicyclists and independent cyclists throughout our state are promoting greater public awareness of bicycle operation and safety education in an effort to reduce accidents, injuries, and fatalities. And whereas the citizens of Piqua benefit from the availability of a complete transportation system that includes facilities dedicated to the safe and convenient movement of bicycle traffic. Now therefore, be it resolved, I,
Chris Lee?
Mayor of the city of Piqua, Ohio, do hereby proclaim the month of May 2024 as Bike Month in the city of Piqua and the state of Ohio, and urge all citizens to join in on the fun of cycling. Thank you so much.
Congratulations.
Yep, that's his. Few words? Yes.
We never fix the microphone.
Speak loud.
Oh, no, they turned it on.
Is it working?
Test, test, test.
No.
It doesn't look like it's plugged into the ground, if that's part of it.
I have been on bike paths all over the state of Ohio. North, south, east, west. And I want to tell you that here in Piqua, we have more than 14 miles of paved path inside the city limits. It is safe bike riding on the path. Yes, we have to cross a couple intersections, but it's safe, it's scenic, it's family, it's fun. And I appreciate this proclamation here. And as he said, it's Bike Month. But May 13th to 19th is Bike to Work Week. And May 17th is Bike to Work Day. So if anybody has a bicycle, it's an alternate means of transportation. I was just telling Chris Lee and Mr. Holman here that I've got over 100 miles on my bicycle this week so far. And can you hear me now?
Oh, yeah.
I have over 100 miles on my bicycle this week and over 500 for the year. March, April were kind of windy and kind of cold, so I didn't get out a lot. But the fact that I can go out and ride safely, and now that the new bridge is open, thank you, the city of Piqua and all who contributed to that thing. A trip for me in the early morning down to the covered bridge and back is a short 15-mile ride, and it's just so pleasant down there in among the trees. And many of the bike paths that I've been on in the state of Ohio were old railroads, and railroads run straight most of the time. You can't beat the scenery, the curves, and the ups and downs of the bike paths that we have here in Miami County. So I know not everybody's a bicyclist, not everybody's a golfer, and not everybody's a runner, but there are a heck of a lot of runners out on the Piqua bike path. There are a lot of walkers, a lot of dogs, a lot of geese. Oh, by the way, this is geese time to have little geeses. And some of mommy and daddy aren't happy when we go by. So I just tell them to get off the path. But again, thank you to the city for this proclamation, this recognition. It's appreciated by me and all the thousands of bicyclists and walkers and runners that use our path. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Next up is a report from the Committee on Fire Training Facility.
Can you hear me?
Yes?
Perfect.
We can.
Good evening.
Can you introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name is David Roth. I'm here with Nancy Roof, and we are co-chairs of the City Commissioners Committee for the Fire Training Facility. The group members, so it's Nancy, myself, Jerica Drapp, Joe Thompson, and Jim Roth. We've been getting to work coming up with doing all the research that we can do and answering all the questions that we can get answered. We're just getting into the beginning of this as an investigative committee. It's a job that we take very seriously. It's a daunting task, I think, to say the least. But we have a lot of support. We have a lot of support from the commission, the citizens. The committee works well together. It's a diverse group. And we are, like I said, working hard to come to a detailed, factual conclusion as to what exactly happened. We'll do everything we have to produce a quality final product, a final report. And hopefully we can interview as many people as we need to, and we'll make our necessary document requests to find out exactly what happened. So I'm going to turn it over to Nancy. She's going to tell you a little bit about our first meeting, and then I'll come back and talk about our second meeting, and then I'll let Nancy handle the third meeting. So.
Okay. Well, it took us a while to get started, but our first meeting was April 11, and all 5 members were there, plus Frank Patrizio, and actually Tom Homan was there too. And so it was an organizational meeting, as most of our meetings are right now as we're getting started. So as David said, he and I got elected the co-chairs for the committee, and Jim and Jerica are co-secretaries, and they're rotating the minutes back and forth between them. We've settled on meeting on every Thursday for as long as it's necessary, and then maybe we'll back off to every other or something, at the Piqua Fort Plaza Hotel, Thursdays at 5:30. We had many things to talk about at the first meeting, and not really coming to resolution on any of them, to just get a feel for what we're up against, what the scope of the project is. Frank let us know that our committee is subject to the sunshine laws, which has presented great challenges to a committee. Unlike a parks committee or a tree committee, this is an investigation committee. And so some of those sunshine laws have made it difficult for us to communicate with each other. We tossed around the idea of how we're going to handle interviews. So again, because of the constraints of the sunshine laws, if we're going to, if all five, well, if three or more are together, it's automatically a meeting, and it has to be announced 24 hours in advance, and we have to let the public know so that they can attend. So if we do an interview, then with three or more of us, that's the format that we have to follow. If someone does not want to be, and those would be recorded, if someone does not want to be recorded, doesn't want to have the public watching the interview, then we're going to have interviews with two people. Most of the time, that's going to be David and I. And so then the interviewee will have the option of being recorded or not recorded. Frank offered to set up some sort of a dedicated email system on the city's website so that the community can communicate with us. That's just gotten posted on the website, and we've added a disclaimer to that it's a one-way communication, and any emails submitted to that will be seen by all the members of the committee, plus some select city staff. Let's see. Frank supplied us with 3 ring binders and a flash drive, each of us, which I forget how many documents that represents, but it's in the hundreds, maybe thousands. So that's taken us some time to read through, to digest, to figure out how to organize that information. And my understanding is that is a compilation of all the requests that the community has made about this issue. And then we discuss what the format of the final report would be, and pretty much like any report, it's going to have an introduction, and then the body, what we've been able to determine through our investigation, and then at the end, a summary, and then recommendations for how this should never happen again. And that was the first meeting.
So going on to the second meeting, our second meeting was April 25th, and that started at 5:30 on the 4th floor of the Piqua Plaza. And that meeting lasted about an hour and 45 minutes. There was a lot of discussion about, the materials that the city provided. At that point in time, we were still very much in the early stages going through all that information. I mean, that's going to take some time to digest for sure. But we're still going through that diligently, and at the same time as we're going through that, thinking, who do we want to interview? What other documents might we request? And those types of things. There were some discussions that meeting about the early timeline of events. The resolution calls for us to look at 2017 to 2023. The committee had talked about this, and there may be reason to look back prior to 2017. I mean, the new water plant, that all came about around, I think, 2012, around there. But regardless, we just want to do a thorough job. We want to do a good job for the community. And in the second meeting also, there were some discussions about technological. At that point, we were still getting set up. We wanted to have all of our meetings recorded. And at this point, that has been set up for us, so we're taken care of there. I don't know if it's been uploaded to YouTube, but the plan was to have the meetings recorded and uploaded. As far as the minutes and agendas being uploaded, we've had that handled, but that was also discussed at the second meeting. There were some preliminary discussions about who we might want to interview. Obviously, names came up. And we also discussed how we might split up the work amongst the 5 group members, because it's a lot. It's a lot of material. And then we discussed having open interviews in our third meeting, which Nancy will talk more about. Before I hand it off to Nancy for the third meeting, I just want to say thanks to a few people. First of all, I want to say thank you to the City Commission for giving us the opportunity to serve Piqua this way. The 5 of us, like I said, take this very seriously, and we're happy to serve the community in this way. All 5 committee members care greatly about the city of Piqua and its success. We want to say thanks to Michelle Perry. She's done a great job of kind of helping us get our minutes and our agendas uploaded. We want to say thanks to Mark Newman and all the Piqua IT staff. They're helping us get our videos uploaded and everything. So thanks there. Thanks to Frank, as kind of our liaison with the city, and his paralegal, Christine. And definitely want to say thank you to the citizens. We've had good turnout at all of our meetings. They've, asked good questions. And to be honest, they've done a lot of research, and we're playing catch up. And we just really appreciate their input, their willingness to talk to us, their being forthcoming with information, and for participating at our meetings. So with that, I'll hand it over to Nancy.
Wrap up then with our most recent meeting, which was May 2nd. The previous meeting had been a bit of a spirited meeting with a lot of enthusiasm, so we thought we'd probably need to have some sort of a code of conduct. So we included everybody, the committee and the people that were there watching or participating in the meeting. It's a short list of conduct rules that we came up with, but if everybody can abide by these, we probably won't need any more. So basically, it's be professional, no personal comments, be honest, and be respectful. If we need to revisit, we'll revisit it later. So we did talk about a system for the interviews, and I think we've pretty much covered that, so I won't go over that again. For public record requests, Joe Thompson and I are going to be coordinating that, and we're going to be meeting later this week to come up with a system for that. We're trying to come up with an online organizational tool to make communications with us and the public easier and more efficient. We have yet to talk about that at this week's meeting and ran into a few problems with that, but that's sort of a route that we might go. We're going to have in our agenda a place for committee members' comments, much as you do at the end of your meetings. And then the public will be allowed to speak at the end of the meeting. And we went at a very fast pace through this meeting because we knew we had 4 citizens who wanted to present to us at the end of the meeting. And we wanted to have about 15 to 20 minutes for each of those. So we thank them for coming forward and sharing with us. And that was Debbie Stein, Jeff Lang, Diane Park, and Alicia Lang. And that was the meeting. So we didn't know what kind of format you wanted for these updates. So if this doesn't work for you and you want to suggest some other format, we're open.
You guys are fine.
Yeah, I would just say the anticipation of you guys' report to the community was just to make sure that there was visibility into what you guys were doing. And as I said in your first meeting, if you guys just want to come up and say hi and then leave, that's fine. If you guys want 3 hours, that's fine too. Whatever report you guys think is appropriate, just gotta be once a month. And then I also just wanted to encourage as well, when we wrote the resolution, we just wanted to give you a starting point. If you guys feel you guys want to expand out on that, it's totally up to you. We don't have any control over that, and if you feel like we are, let us know. We'll pull back, or we'll let each other know to pull back. But we want this to be as unbiased as possible. You guys are autonomous and off on your own now, so I don't envy your position, but I think after watching the meetings,
Sort of
autonomous. You guys feel, it feels like you guys are the right people for the job, and I'm excited for what your final work product is going to end up being.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next on our agenda then is the consent agenda.
Approval of the minutes from the April 16, 2024 regular city commission meeting And Resolution 67-24, a resolution accepting the resignation of Gary Koenig as a member of the Planning Commission.
I guess I need a motion for the,
Mayor, I motion that we adopt the consent agenda.
I second the motion.
moved and seconded. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, and, sorry to see Gary, go. He's going on to greener pastures, I guess, and, there will be an opening in the planning commission. Tomorrow opens the, enrollment for that. So if you're interested in applying for that, please do. Next is old business. Starting with ordinance number O-3-24, second reading.
An ordinance to adopt Chapter 99 Piqua Historic Preservation Ordinance.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. Love those. Kyle Hinkleman, Community Services Director. This is the second reading of O-3-24, the Chapter 99 creation of the Piqua Historic Preservation Ordinance. Over the last couple weeks, staff has met with some representatives of the Piqua Caldwell Historic District. We've worked through some changes with SHPO, and there are some modifications to the language within O-3-24, mainly representing some of the enforcement mechanisms or language that exists for landscaping. So no longer is there language that represents enforcement of what landscaping goes in or doesn't go in, as well as exterior surfaces. Again, I just want to be clear, I mean, that language existed in the previous code, but after discussion, we're going to make sure we get that cleaned up. So all language that exists is enforceable language and an intention to be enforced. So the other one in there is also residential. There is a section on lighting, and it is clarified that is intended for residential properties and not commercial properties. The couple of SHPO comments related to how specific powers were designated and the clarity of language that they expect. So there are some changes to that as well. With that, it is the second reading. Substantially, it is the same, but there were those small changes. I would anticipate there would be one more change, potentially two more, from the State Historic Preservation Office before the final third reading, and I will note those clearly at our next meeting.
Appreciate that. Any questions from commissioners?
I just want to thank you, Kyle, for meeting with me and some of the other citizens on this. I think your intention of just moving a box of codes from one shelf to another was admirable, just to get everything cleaned up. But in moving that box, it got opened up, and a lot of people wanted to see what was in there. And I appreciate you spending the time to kind of clarify what was going to go on and making a few adjustments as we went along. I think that was well needed. So thank you for that.
Absolutely. And again, our intention with all of that is to make sure that the code that's put in is enforceable, and we are intending to do that.
Any questions from citizens? This will serve then as a second reading on that ordinance. Next is ordinance number O-4-24.
An ordinance to amend Chapter 32, Boards and Commissions.
Good evening again.
Again.
O-4-24 is the modification to Chapter 32, our boards section of our code. There are no changes that are being proposed, although I will note, as some of the conversation that was had between the community, the representatives of Piqua Caldwell Historic District, there were some questions about representation on the City Historic Review Commission, and there was a direct request to have a member of the Piqua Caldwell Historic District Board represented on the City Historic Review Commission. Again, that language has not been incorporated. There's going to be some further discussion, but if there is as of today,
The representation is specific that the city commission can choose as they would any other board. And there is one, the sixth member of the board is a city commissioner who will serve in a non-voting way, but the other 5 would be just 5 members of the community that have specific interest or knowledge or skill related to historic preservation. So this would be a conversation on whether or not one of those 5 would be designated as a representative for the Piqua Caldwell Historic District.
Well, I for one would like to see someone from that group be represented so that they have knowledge and say as to what goes on with it. And whether we pick them or if they're appointed as written, as long as they get in there, I'd like to see their voice be heard.
As a point of reference, if other areas decide that they want to be a historic preservation area, would we also include them in what specific membership on the board? That would be an interesting question.
Yes, I mean, again, there's 5 members, so the city commission has a right to create that board how they wish in terms of the representation. As I noted, as of today, the language represents any 5 members of the community. I think there are rules in terms of that you have to live in the community and such, but again, there's no ties to any individual board or obligation that you serve another purpose beyond an interest or a skill in historic preservation. So with this conversation, obviously that would put 1. I will note that the Piqua Caldwell Historic District is the only designated district in our community. So as of now, if we added some, maybe that's a future conversation to have, but as of today, there is only 1 district that exists.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other comments from commission?
No.
Comments from citizens? No? All right, come on.
Don Smith, 333 West Green Street, and president of the Piqua Caldwell Historic District. And I want to first say how pleased I was with the meeting that we had to discuss the resolution that you're talking about. I think Kyle's on the right track. I am very specific, though, that I believe, as you've mentioned, that we should have a member of our board, and it would be someone that our board would select to be the representative for the district, and I would like to encourage that to be written into the resolution. Thank you for your time.
No, thank you. Appreciate it. Any other citizens? This will serve as a second reading then. Next on the agenda for old business, ordinance number O-5-24. Again, second reading.
An ordinance to amend Title 15 Land Usage Piqua Development Code.
Good evening. This is ordinance 05-24. We have no changes. This is the second reading. For your, to recall, it is a number of changes that we went through previously to our development code. As we will all remember, our development code was adopted last June, and a year later, there are a number of items that are not either have changed or we didn't realize some of these items would be impactful in the way that they are. And so these changes, again, go from our first page in the primary use table all the way into the end of the code, some of these issues that we have. But the majority of these changes are relative to moving out our certificate of appropriateness and the historic regulations from our code Piqua and trying to move them into this new Chapter 99. Again, no changes from the previous reading. If there are any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Any questions from commissioners? Any questions from citizens? This will serve as a second reading. This will move on to new business. Ordinance number O-6-24. First reading.
An ordinance to regulate burning activities.
All righty.
Mr. Holman.
Yes, well, during my presentation, I will be reading it, and so that will be, the first reading will be during the presentation here. Okay, so can we get the slides? Thank you. All right, so an ordinance to regulate burning activities upon property owned by the city of Piqua. So, it's not working. There we go. Okay. So I want to start off with some background about what happened and why we're talking about this and where we're at in the process. So, why are we here? What happened? Well, the problem was the destructive testing of industrial energy systems, including the burning of lithium-ion batteries. It's bad. We don't like it. We're going to do something about it, and we have been doing something about it. So, what is it that we've been doing and are doing about this? Well, we've got a multiple vector attack plan to get this figured out. We are looking to the past and we're looking to the future, and we're going to attack this from multiple angles to figure out how it happened and to make sure that it never happens again. In looking to the past, we've done contamination testing. The results show that the water is safe. The results show that the air is safe. The results show that the soil is safe. That is because, for better or worse, when the batteries were being burned, most of that smoke went up into the atmosphere and blew away. In a way, that's good, because it means that the site and the city are not ongoing sources of a danger. On the other hand, it's very bad, because it should never have happened to start with. Also looking to the past, we have set up the investigation committee, who just gave a presentation tonight, and I thank them for that. Most of the current commission, wasn't here when the burning started. A lot of the city staff weren't here when the burning started either, including the city manager. And a lot of us aren't real sure. How did this get started? There's a lot of theories, a lot of evidence, and a lot of facts floating around. We're trying to get that put together. And that is what the point of the investigation committee is. And I want to thank my fellow freshman commissioner, Mr. DeBras, for authoring the resolution that created the investigation committee. And I want to thank the mayor and vice mayor for voting alongside Mr. DeBras and myself to create that committee. Our votes to create that committee showed that we have a commitment to the community and that we're dedicated to finding answers and not covering up anything. And I want to thank I want to thank everybody on the investigation committee for their participation in helping us get to the bottom of what's going on here. So that's how we're looking to the past to figure out how did we get here. Now, how do we stop this from happening again in the future? Well, we did that a couple of weeks ago, where we removed the permission to do so. So the first step in trying to make sure this never happens again was to change the joint use agreement for the training facility with Bowling Green State University. That original agreement gave Bowling Green specific permission to burn batteries at that location. We changed that language a few weeks ago and withdrew that permission. By voting yes on modifying that joint use agreement and removing the language that gave them permission to do so, they are no longer permitted to burn batteries at that location. By doing that, we took a big step in making sure that this doesn't happen again. And our second step in making sure that this never happens again is what we're here to talk about tonight, and that is to make it illegal. Not just a promise, not just a handshake, but a real law that makes it really illegal so that we can make sure that this does not happen again. All right, so why wasn't it illegal already? Somebody asked me that a few commission meetings ago, and I said then, and I'll say the same thing now, for me, the most horrifying part about the situation with the battery burning is that it appears that it was legal for them to do so. That's the most shocking thing to me. From the best we can tell, no laws were broken. Perhaps the investigation committee will find something different, but as of right now, it appears that ESRG was able to exploit a gap in the law that allowed this to happen. How does that gap come about, though? Well, despite this being America, we do live under a lot of laws and regulations. We live under a regulatory stack of federal, state, and local laws. Sometimes, a lot of times, those laws overlap. Sometimes they leave gaps, like what seems to have happened here. So how are we going to fix that? Well, we're going to fill in the gaps with a new law, which brings us to the ordinance that I'm presenting tonight. So An ordinance to regulate burning activities upon property owned by the City of Piqua. Section 1. The City of Piqua shall not allow the use of city-owned property for the destructive testing of batteries, equipment, or devices of any kind, including but not limited to deflagration testing. So, this ordinance, again, I want to highlight here, city-owned property. This ordinance does not require anything of a citizen who is living, working, or otherwise enjoying their own private property. Something went wrong with the government, and to fix it, this law is narrowly targeted at specifically the government and only the government. Destructive testing of batteries, equipment, or devices of any kind. This ordinance makes it illegal to conduct destructive testing on anything, not just batteries. If a solar company wants to set a panel on fire, a phone company wants to hit a tablet with a hammer, or an appliance company wants to blow up a microwave, then they can do it on their own damn property, but they are not going to do it on city-owned property. City-owned property is for the benefit and enjoyment of citizens that paid for it, not for foreign-owned companies that came here to blow up crap. You want to use public land to host a picnic, a volleyball tournament, or train some firefighters, that's great. You want to use public land to light stuff on fire just so that your execs and shareholders can see what happens? No way. Deflagration testing. Deflagration from Merriam-Webster's dictionary. Deflagration as in to ignite or to burn rapidly with intense heat and sparks being given off. Why in the heck do we have that word in here? Well, because it's a fancy lawyer word. That has found its way into many of the documents that were exchanged between the parties that were involved in what went on out there. It's a word that sounds a lot nicer than light a bunch of chemicals on fire. And like many legal terms, it's meant to obfuscate rather than clarify. So next time, whether they want to use the more straightforward language of destructive testing, or they want to be tricky and use this fancy term, this law covers both of them. Section 2. The City of Piqua shall not allow the use of city-owned property for the intentional setting of uncontained fires, defined as openly burning fires not mediated by a regulated tool, device, or appliance, which has been designed to safely manage and control a combustion reaction. We see here again that this law is about city-owned property. We also see that this is about intentional willful acts. Accidents always happen, we just hope that they don't. This law, again, a mediated, regulated device, tool, or appliance that has been designed to safely manage a combustion reaction. This does not affect gas stoves, blowtorches, lighters, candles, grills, combustion engines. If you bought it at a store and it was designed to use or create fire in some way, then it's probably not covered by this law, so long as you are using it within its designed specifications. Section 2, Part 2. So, except for, we have several exceptions here, except for the purposes of cooking, heating, recreation, sanctioned pyrotechnic displays, city maintenance, operation, or construction activities, emergency response activities, and for the training or certifying of firefighters or rescue personnel participating in programs accredited under Chapter 4765 of the Ohio Revised Code, where such accepted activities are otherwise compliant with all laws and regulations. These are exceptions, not permissions. These only mean that the law doesn't cover these exceptions. It's not that the law is giving you permission to do these things. So this law doesn't mean that you can go have a barbecue in City Hall in the lobby just because it says that you're allowed to cook. No, it's just saying that it doesn't cover cooking. It's not giving you permission to do it. All applicable laws and regulations still apply to any activity that you do. This law does not cancel 4th of July fireworks displays, which was a concern, and that has been resolved in this section. This law does not affect regular city operations. Anything that the city is doing to maintain the city, this does not cover that. This law does not prevent emergency responders from doing their job. Now, why would that be important? Well, sometimes there's forest fires, and sometimes they've got to do controlled burns. Sometimes they've got to do stuff that you never would have thought that you needed to do, and this law does not hamper them from doing that. Let's see here. So, Chapter 4765 of the Ohio Revised Code regulates professional first responders, EMTs, and firefighters. These state laws already thoroughly cover and well regulate the methods for training emergency responders. This is important because it means that the training programs that are not accredited by the state of Ohio are not exempted from following this law. Essentially, an out-of-state fire training program that is not certified by the state of Ohio would not be allowed to conduct live fire training on Piqua City property. Section 3. Section 3 deals with what kinds of fires are allowable. So training fires intentionally set on city-owned property shall consist exclusively of Class A, Class B, and Class K fires. Training fires specifically calls back to Exception 7 in the previous section. Not every location is appropriate for every kind of training, and so this section adds some guide rails to ensure that only appropriate types of training occur on city property. Fire classifications that are referenced here, A, B, and K, these are universally recognized in America. You can see their symbols, names, and descriptions on every fire extinguisher.
Can you tell us what NFPA is?
Yeah, I will get to that. These are well-known standards, and these definitions come from the NFPA, which is the National Fire Protection Association. And I'll be talking a little bit more about them in a later section, but that's a good question to ask for after we're done. So Class A fires. So again, this is saying that any training fire that occurs on Piqua City property, it can only be an A, B, or K fire. So what are A, B, K fires? Class A fires are fires in ordinary combustible materials such as wood, cloth, paper, rubber, and many plastics. Class B fires are fires in flammable liquids, combustible liquids, petroleum greases, tars, oils, oil-based paints, solvents, lacquers, alcohols, and flammable gases. Class K fires are fires in cooking appliances that involve combustible cooking media like vegetable and animal oils and fats. Just as an extra aside here, lithium batteries, being both an energized device and something made from volatile metals, would never be considered a Class A, B, or K fire. We'll get more to that later. Section 4. So Section 4 deals with what kind of fuel sources are allowed to be used. This is the one to really pay attention to. It's where all the key restrictions are that really make this ordinance do what we want it to do. So, Section 4, training fires intentionally set on city-owned property shall have fuel sources consisting exclusively of organic materials and petroleum products, excluding hard plastics, synthetic rubbers, and materials that are reasonably likely to result in a Class C or Class D fire, and excluding materials with a hazmat material classification level, which is not either Class 2, Class 3, or Class 4, and not exceeding a fuel volume that is reasonably likely to result in an unattended burn time of longer than 6 hours. So what does all that mean? Again, we've got that this section is specifically targeting training fires. It's a callback to Exemption 7 in Section 2. Again, we're specifying city-owned property. And this specifies the general wider category of materials that can be burned. In Part 2 of Section 4, we've got some exclusions that try to reduce that general category down to a smaller set of fuel items. So same as before, let's see here. So we've got excluding hard plastics and synthetic rubbers, and we also have excluding materials that are likely to result in a Class C or Class D fire. Same as before, fire classifications are universally recognized in America. We specifically prohibit burning materials that are likely to result in a Class C or Class D fire. Class C fires are fires that involve energized equipment. Class D fires are fires in combustible metals, such as magnesium, titanium, zirconium, sodium, lithium, and potassium. If the material is reasonably likely to create one of these fires, you can't use it for firefighter training. Energized equipment, that would include charged batteries. Combustible metals, that includes lithium, like the kind used in lithium-ion batteries. So, no more burning batteries. This makes it illegal. We're continuing to reduce the category of fuel sources that can be burned by again specifying more materials that cannot be burned. Just like fire types, the U.S. Department of Transportation hazmat classifications are well understood and well recognized. So we've got any materials that are not included in either hazmat class 2, class 3, or class 4. Hazmat class 2 are gases, hazmat class 3 are flammable or combustible liquids, and hazmat class 4 are flammable solid, spontaneously combustible, and dangerous when wet materials. Class 4 is a little bit of an oddball in that it includes wood, but it also includes sodium in its solid, it also includes lithium in its solid form. It includes a lot of other things that I wouldn't want to burn too, but that's okay. Not every single sentence of this law has to cover every single thing that's being banned. You take them all together. That's how the law works. Just because something is hazmat 4 doesn't mean that it's going to pass the other tests in the ordinance where other things were banned. Lithium, for example, it is a hazmat 4, but because it would result in a class D fire, it doesn't pass all the tests, and therefore it would still be banned from being burned on city property. The language in this one is a little bit tricky too. We have a double negative here saying that we are excluding hazardous materials that are not class 2, 3, or 4, which is the same thing as saying that we are allowing hazmat class 2, 3, or 4 while we're banning all of the other classifications for hazmat. What are those other classifications? Well, we've got them here from the Department of Transportation. Essentially, no class 1, class 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, or dangerous. So, no explosives, no oxidizers, no poisons, nothing radioactive, nothing corrosive, nothing miscellaneous, and my personal favorite, nothing dangerous. Now, you might be asking yourself, why would we allow hazmat materials to be burned at all? And that's because some of these materials, like class 2s, 3s, and even a few 4s, they contain regular everyday things like gasoline and wood. So that's why it just looks a little bit scary, but that's because they wrap even regular items or regular seeming items under the hazardous materials classification standard. So here, so the last part of part 4 limits the amount of fuel that can be used. So now we've got a good idea of what kind of fuel you can even use. But how much of it can you use? And nothing that would result in an unattended burn time of longer than 6 hours. This one's really simple. We have evidence of very long burns taking place out there. One of them in particular I heard about went on for 30 hours. That's crazy, and it's never going to happen again. So in direct response to that, this ordinance makes it illegal to use that much fuel for training fires. Section 5. Training fires intentionally set on city-owned property shall have in attendance no less than one firefighter who is authorized by the state of Ohio with a certificate issued under section 4765.55 of the Ohio Revised Code during the entirety of the burn from the time of ignition, and who shall be responsible for declaring the burn fully extinguished at the conclusion of the burn. This section is about accountability. I've heard endless stories and even witnessed a few examples myself of fires going on at that location with no firefighters around. It makes people worried to see fires without firefighters, and rightfully so. When I bike past the new training facility and I see a fire going, I want to see that there's firefighters there so that I know that everything's going to be okay. If we're training firefighters, it makes sense that there should be at least one firefighter in attendance. That's some good common sense legislation right there. So we're going to have at least one if we're training one of them. There's another reference to Ohio Revised Code section 4765, and specifically chapter 55 in that section. This part of Ohio law regulates who is a firefighter. Apparently, there's a whole process in becoming one, and there's a lot of hard work to do and a whole bunch of Ohio law that regulates what that work is. So I don't want some middle management weirdo with a fire fetish out there overseeing these burns. I want a real Ohio certified firefighter out there during these training burns to make sure everything's going okay. In this part, I'm calling last one out, get the lights. Our Ohio certified firefighter needs to be on scene before the training fire starts, and they need to stay there the whole time, and they need to be the one to decide that the fire is over when it is done. Section 6. Training fires intentionally set on city-owned property shall be compliant with the standards outlined in the National Fire Protection Association document, NFPA 1403, Standard on Live Fire Training Evolutions, where not otherwise specified by applicable laws and regulations. NFPA, National Fire Protection Association, they are the gold standard for firefighter best practices. NFPA 1403 is the definitive rule book on safely training the most effective firefighters in the world. NFPA 1403 is not itself a law. It even says that on the cover page that this guidebook isn't itself a law. But this ordinance corrects that by adopting those best practices into our local regulatory code and giving them the force of law. While a lot of the previous sections of this ordinance were lifted from the guidance in that book, this section acts as a cover-all fail-safe. It makes sure that anything I forgot or any new best practices that may arise in firefighter training become the law in Piqua for how we train our firefighters in live fire training. This guidebook is the definitive standard for American firefighters, and now it's not just a good idea, it's going to be the law. Section 7. Any data captured or recorded during training fires intentionally set on city-owned properties shall be considered a part of the public domain, regardless of the entity conducting the test, and no data shall be considered the proprietary property of or for the exclusive use by any organization or entity. City-owned property is supposed to be for the benefit of the public good. City-owned property is not meant to be for the secretive mad science projects that benefit private profits. One of the documents I read while we've been investigating what went on out there specifically directed ESRG to destroy data gathered during testing. Specifically, the word destroy was used. Because that data was not for the public good. It wasn't meant to increase awareness of how batteries burn. This data was supposed to be for the exclusive use of private corporations so they can make money for themselves. Not anymore. This section is a direct response to that activity, and it's now illegal to be using city property for fires that are for private profits. Section 8, this is the punishment section, everybody's favorite. Section 8, any violation of this ordinance shall result in a civil penalty of $150 for the first violation, $300 for the second violation, and $500 for a third violation. Now, this might not seem like enough, but because we have now made it illegal to do certain kinds of burns in our city, it is now impossible to get EPA or RAPCA permits to burn those things because they would be in conflict with local law. And so if you do this, yeah, we're going to be the first one with our hand out saying you owe us some money, but you're going to immediately run afoul of some pretty big state and probably federal violations as well as soon as you start burning something out there that you're not supposed to. As we showed before, there's kind of a regulatory Swiss cheese above us with state and federal law. And so we wanted this law to go just far enough and only that far. And we did that deliberately. We didn't want to make some new giant overreaching law. We wanted to make it narrowly tailored to the specific problem, not something that was out of control. Then we've got our last two sections, which is section 9. This ordinance shall be enforced by the city manager or his designee, and any violation may be appealed for hearing to the Board of Zoning Appeals. And section 10, this ordinance shall be in effect and be in full force from the earliest period allowed by law. Those are both just kind of boilerplate sections that are in most ordinances. So, why did we write this? Why did I write this? Well, because it was the right thing to do. Recently, I was told that I couldn't be trusted as a commissioner, and that all I had to do was watch the video from the commission meeting on September 19th, 2023 to find out why. I didn't have to watch that meeting because I remember that meeting. I remember that was the meeting where Nick Warner gave his presentation about ESRG. And I remember watching him, not from up here, but from down there in the audience, because I was not a commissioner yet. I also remember heckling Mr. Warner. I yelled out to him that he was lying and leaving things out. And then I was told by the commission at the time that I needed to be quiet because I was out of order, which I was. But I was upset because I saw something that was wrong, and I was concerned. And a lot of you in this city have shared those same concerns. And so I wrote this ordinance for you. But if you use this crisis as an excuse to harass our police officers, to assault college kids, to send death threats, this ordinance isn't for you. This ordinance isn't for the out-of-towners are the people who aren't really looking for answers or solutions. This ordinance isn't for the people who are only looking to participate in an endless revolution because they can't find meaning elsewhere in their lives. This ordinance is for the people who are actually concerned. This ordinance is for the people who have called us and told us that you were concerned, but that you weren't with those people. I've gotten a lot of those calls, emails, and met you on the street, and I appreciate each one of those interactions. And for those of you here watching or at home who are concerned as well, but you're not with those people, I want you to know that you're not alone. There's a lot of you out there. And I want to thank everyone who had the patience while we tried to fix this. We've only had this new commission for 4 months now, and I think we're working pretty fast for government work. We've taken several real actionable steps already, and we're about to take another huge step with this ordinance. We didn't do this to you, but we sure as heck are going to fix it for you. I encourage my fellow commissioners to vote yes on this, and with that, Mayor, I yield back.
Any questions from any other commissioner? I think this is a step in the right direction.
I've got a couple things. You mentioned that the penalties, the local penalties are really light, but anybody further, they're gonna wind up getting more fines upstream, okay? If someone goes out there and burns, who's affected most?
I don't know, who do you think?
Us, here, okay? So why are we asking for pennies and giving dollars to the state and the federal government?
You had every opportunity to help me write this over the last month and a half.
I've asked you.
No, you have not. You
Yes,
have
I
not.
have.
You have absolutely not.
I've said it here, yes. Anyway.
And you are welcome
I
to
would-
construct an amendment. I proposed this in the working session
Right.
3 weeks ago. You're more than welcome to propose an amendment if you feel that that is necessary.
Okay, I will propose an amendment to,
Penalties? To the penalties?
yes, to the penalties, that those should actually be like tenfold. It should be 1,500, 3,000, and 5,000.
Believe that there's been a motion.
Oh, you making a motion
Yes.
on that? Can we research that and make sure that we can actually do that? Are we able to do that, Frank? I'll second it then. Moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye to the amendment.
Aye.
Aye.
Mr. Mayor, I'd ask for a recorded vote.
All right. Give a roll call, please.
Mayor Lee,
Aye.
Commissioner Vetter,
No.
Commissioner DeBras,
Aye.
Commissioner Homan,
Aye.
Commissioner Simmons.
Aye.
There you go. All right, so the penalty phase is increased at this point. Any other, do you have anything else you want to add, Paul?
It's not really something you could do. This is specific towards city property. My mind is going towards loopholes. And so one loophole would be, say, someone either comes up with a piece of private property, or the city were to sell that facility to a private enterprise, then they could go right merrily on burning if they could get the permits. I don't think anybody should be allowed to burn hazmat materials in the city of Piqua. That's just me. But I don't know what I don't think there's any amendment that I could make toward that.
That one seems to be because it's, as I mentioned early on in the presentation, this was a narrowly tailored law to the government. The government did something wrong or allowed something to happen, so we're pointing it at the government, not at the people. If you think that we need to have additional regulations around the citizenry on their private property, you are more than welcome to create an ordinance that could sit alongside this.
I think we do, I'm just not sure what yet. So I'd like to wait and see what comes back from the Battery Burn Committee, from their report. Move forward from there.
Any other questions from the commission?
Not a question, just a statement, more of a thank you to Commissioner Homan for all of the time, work, effort in putting this together, as well as the input of the city law director, Mr. Patrizio, and the city manager, and all the various department heads who weighed in and offered guidance on how this would impact their today activities, and also making this available to any of the commission who wanted to participate in this process. So I appreciate your work in getting this into a format to actually be able to present it in a manner in which I think most people can understand, and again, another step in the process of responding to what we all agree should not have happened. So, thank you.
The PowerPoint's available online?
Yes,
Okay,
my spirited presentation is not. It's on YouTube, though.
yes. So, any questions from citizens?
Has this been shared with Bowling Green and the fire school there? And what was their reaction?
No, not to my knowledge,
I mean, it will need to be, right?
presumably.
And
I mean-
EPA and RAPCA will need to know about the new law.
Ms. Patrizio, do you have any insight into that? I wrote it, but I don't necessarily know the
This
wider
does
law.
not prohibit the burning for the fire testing facility. It prohibits the burning of hazardous chemicals. The straw and the pallets have been approved by the EPA, and they will be able to continue to burn those for testing purposes. The permits for that facility actually come into the city of Piqua's name. The city of Piqua applies for them from RAPCA, and we get it from them, no matter who burns out there, because we own the property.
Okay. And I regret hearing the comments about our community. We're trying to work very hard with them. We consider them to be sincerely concerned and disturbed by all these events, and I think you should give them more credit.
Next?
I identify as shit. First off, you wipe that fucking smile off your damn face.
All
Not a
right,
chance.
excuse me. You have the right to have protected speech.
You don't have the right to
Profanity
say
is not protected speech.
It is, you might really.
No, it
wanna
is
go down
not.
this road? How
No,
much-
it is
How much
not.
you wanna bet I'm 100% correct again?
Sir, we're not going to put up with profanity.
And I'm
Your
not gonna
time
put
is
up with
running.
you. I told you guys the first time, this man does not know his job. Now,
You're being warned, though, for profanity.
I really want you to do this to me a second time. I really want you to toss me out of here again. Please do. I don't know, you guys know exactly what I'm talking about. I don't know why you think you can do what you're gonna do. Keep messing with me. You might wanna ask different places, like go to Sydney. Talk to them about what I did up there. There's a couple businesses in town don't run them because they ran their mouths and tried this crap with me too. I ain't putting up with your shit. You understand?
Again, profanity
I don't
is
even
not
care quiet I'm
protected.
talking, it's public comment. I ain't threatening nobody, I can say it.
Profanity is
I
not
can
protected.
say it. You might want to read. You really might want to check your constitution. I already got you once. Don't make me get you
Yeah,
twice.
your time's running.
Yeah. Keep running your mouth. It's not running when you're interrupting me. Shut up.
It's running.
Shut up. You need to watch what you say to people.
Oh, I
now,
do?
That little,
Do
oh,
I?
No, you don't. No, see, clearly you don't know what you're talking about. You can't sit up there where you're at and run your mouth and tell people you have no credibility. Everything you just read, have you ever driven a semi-truck? Do you know anything about hazardous materials other than what you just read that came out of a handbook? You don't know jack, do you? You don't know nothing.
I've not driven truck.
Exactly. So one, you can shut up with that. You don't know nothing you're talking about. Nothing. Everything you guys moved out of here when you're cleaning up place, not one of them vehicles had a placard on it. You know how I know? I've done that for a job. You guys are idiots. Idiots. This man doesn't know his job. You guys use that man as a way to intimidate people. Clearly it doesn't work. You might want to talk to the guys that came into my house. I was thrilled when they showed up. I don't care about you because you don't care about us. You don't. Them people on that committee, I don't know why they're even letting him in there. He clearly don't know his job. It's amazing how dumb you guys are. It really is. You guys make all these ordinances for everybody in this town, but you, the city, don't follow a stinking one of them. What you think is so funny, boy? What's
You know
so funny?
exactly what I think's so funny.
What?
I was real specific that this law is narrowly tailored at the government. That's real funny. You don't know how to
You
listen
are
to
the
me.
government, you moron. You were voted into that spot. That makes you government, you
I know, and this
dipshit.
law's targeted at me.
And obviously you don't know what you're talking about. Everything you said in there is art. You've never been able to burn lithium-ion batteries, dummy. You can't burn oil. It's all already illegal, idiot. You haven't done anything. And what makes you think you can create law? Are you a congressman? A
30
senator?
seconds.
I don't care. You're an idiot. You're an absolute idiot. The simple fact that you're up here amazes me. It's May. We got a couple more weeks till June. I'm coming after every
How's my recall
stinking
going?
last.
You got enough signatures
It
yet?
starts in June, you smart ass.
No, mine's early. You can do it now.
No, can't. I gotta wait till June, you dumb bitch.
Your time has expired.
Fine.
Thank you.
You're gonna lose your job. You might want to consider. You understand?
Yep.
Thank you.
Read your Constitution. Your charter ain't jack shit.
So just so the commission is aware, the Supreme Court of the United States in Shaplansky versus the New Hampshire, 315 U.S. 568, states that protected speech does not include lewd and obscene, the profane and libels, and the insulting fighting words, those which by their very utterance inflict injury or tend to incite immediate breach of speech. That is not protected speech.
Be quiet from the back of the room, sir. Be quiet from the back of the room. You're warned.
I'm leaving myself. I gotta
Thank you.
say, and you guys know, fuck yourselves.
All right.
Fuck you
Let's all take a deep breath after that.
Yes, thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Deep in and out. Kim Heisler,
Hi,
1802 West
Kim.
Parkway Drive. I want to say, great job. You're on a good path
Yes.
of bringing stuff together. You've put a lot of hard work into it,
Yes.
and it's very much appreciated. I think there still might be a little bit more work. I agree with Paul in that the fines, even at $1,500, is very low. Because what happens, I know there's layers, but all it takes is the first time, right? The first burn, it's done. It doesn't matter. And the government doesn't follow through on a lot of stuff. We can see EPA doesn't do anything for the public, really. They do, but they don't. So make it high enough that people will say, you know what,
I'm not gonna do it.
it's not worth $1,500. Make it like $1 million or something. I mean, make it high so people won't even think about, they'll go way out around Piqua.
We can talk about that.
I mean, it's
just
silly to make it 150 or even 1,500. That's pocket change. And for companies that make billions or millions, they would just do it all the time and get fined. That's okay for them, even though there's higher penalties if it ever gets to them. That was the one thing, so I would hope that you guys would also up that. The other thing you had mentioned, addressing the problem of the burning, you had mentioned it's destructive, is what you put on there. And destructive is good, but destructive is like the battery no longer works. It needs to be like hazardous, because destructive is about the battery, hazardous is about the people and their health. And it just makes, it just makes more sense. And you'd mentioned like the soil, the air, the water all came out okay because it went up in the air. Well, what about the people down the line? I mean, everybody gets infected by the air, right? Carbon monoxide, people die from carbon monoxide. You can't see it, but that doesn't mean it's not there.
I completely agree. If
So-
there was something I could do to go back in time and get that to stop, I would. That was more
Well,
of a
I
yeah.
understand that, but you know, hazardous has to do with,
And then there, the rest of the section covers all that kind of possible testing. And that one section that specifies that even if a private company were to go out there, any data they generate, they can't have it be private data. It has to be public domain data. And a lot of those companies that were going out there, they wanted the private data that was secretive. And so that would hopefully take away the carrot for them to come out here and want to try to do that again.
Okay, I appreciate that. It just takes the humanization away when words are used that are not directly correlating. The other thing, do I have?
No, keep going.
And Paul had also mentioned, checking out like the private area. I mean, I think that's something good to look into also, because where there's deception, if you can't do it one way, people are always looking for another way. So I think that would be good to do. So
Close those
anyways, thank you
loopholes.
guys.
Thanks.
Thank you. And I just want to say too that some of your comments throughout the past commission meetings, you've helped me craft a few of those sections just in some of your questions, especially the hazmat section. You had asked about hazardous materials and radioactive materials, and that's where I had made the section about the hazmat stuff. So I just wanted to thank you for your input on that as well.
Jeff Grimes, 9300 State Route 66. No more burning anything at 9300 State Route 66. If you remember correctly, you said those people. Well, those people are the ones that got the lithium-ion battery burning noticed and stopped. So those people deserve respect. And those people stopped, I think in 2020, DNV GL. It was a $20 billion company. So those people stopped a $20 billion company from being a toxic wasteland. So you want to continue to burn out there, and you say the stuff is not toxic. So once again, right over here, there's a vacant lot. The fire department wouldn't have to travel very far. You could even make a festival. How about we call it the Fire Fest? You could have all these fire departments come here. They can run up and down their ladders. They can roll out their hoses. We can have a great big competition. It's right for everybody to see. It would be a great thing for downtown. If it's great for out there, why wouldn't it be great for downtown? So then, one more thing. When you burn anything, wood, straw, and I'm getting this directly from the EPA, so you can call them credible. Smoke forms when wood or other organic matter burns. The smoke from wood burning is made up of a complex mixture of gases and fine particles, also called particle pollution. Particulate matter. In addition to particulate pollution, wood smoke contains several toxic air pollutants: benzene, formaldehyde, acrolein, polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons. It's right from the EPA. Stop this burning. You're going to have people out there burning, and the people that are watching it are the same ones that allowed this to happen with no oversight. So we don't trust you. We don't trust the EPA. We don't trust the OEPA. You said that smoke goes up in the air and it didn't hurt us. Well, it comes down somewhere. I was out there for the first firefighter training and sitting on the levee bank, and the wind was blowing and it was a sunny day. But when the wind stopped, it settled in that valley, and it burned your eyes, and it burned your throat. It affected fishermen, bicyclists, people walking their dog, people at the dog park. I would consider that a nuisance. Nuisance is not allowed. So why don't you guys just give this up? Bowling Green is a state-accredited fire school. They let this stuff happen. You guys believed them. DNV, $20 billion company. You let them come in here and you let us be lab rats for 6 years. So, do you think benzene is toxic? Do you think formaldehyde's toxic? Do you think acrylene's toxic? Acrolein. Oh, wow. Colorless yellow liquid with a disagreeable odor. It dissolves in water very easily and quickly changes to a vapor when heated. It also burns easily. It's so, they don't even know what this does to people. Watery eyes, burn in the eyes, coughing, wheezing, nausea, skin irritation. That's from the
30
National
seconds.
Cancer Institute. Can I have some more time?
No,
So when do you give somebody more time? When they agree with what you're saying?
no.
So do you guys think this is, answer my question. Is benzene toxic?
It's your time to talk.
Is benzene toxic? Is formaldehyde toxic? Is acrolein toxic? You guys are burning this shit out there by our water source. Burn it in here if it's so great. Why won't you move
Your
it in here?
time is expired.
Thank you, Mr. Grimes.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like the record to reflect that I never accused Mr. Grimes or his associates of being those people. I merely stated that if anybody used this crisis to harass our police officers, assault college kids, or send death threats, that this wasn't for them. If Mr. Grimes would like to self-identify as part of that group, that is up to him, but I did not do so.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Good evening. I would have to agree with Jeff on a lot of statements. Oh, I'm sorry.
That's all right, Nick.
Nicholas Martin, 1433
Thanks,
Covington
Nick.
Avenue. Yeah, I would have to agree with Jeff on a lot of his statements, especially with it being around the Parks and Recreation. I just see it being in conflict and not in confluence. It's not in concert with its surroundings whatsoever. I mean, you have people pushing their babies in strollers. When he talks about just the irritants, the smoke, the irritants, to infants, we were up there, you know, on the path, and there were families pushing their infants in strollers. There's people walking dogs. There's, like he says, there's fishermen. There's dog, you know, there's dogs, animals themselves. There's people riding their bikes up that hill, and you think about how many respirations a second does it take to pedal up that. We just had a speech tonight about it being Bicycle Month, and you think how many respirations a second does it take to get up that hill? And if they're burning out there, then you're inhaling all that. It doesn't make sense to have, you know, I've submitted a proposal to you.
You did.
About, you know, relocating this whole project and what we could put there in its place. And, you know, I stand behind, you know, what my
You want
thoughts.
to share that? We want to share that so that people understand?
I don't have, you'd have to give me another, a little bit of time.
Just, it's a good proposal. Just say briefly what you propose.
Okay.
Move it, just
So-
to move it, yes.
Okay, so out there, well, I don't even know how popular it's gonna be. But out there, I would propose that we use those grounds. We pave a parking lot. We use those grounds to change it to be something that's more confluent with the area of Parks and Recreation. Since we have already got a relationship with BG, we expand upon that relationship through their environmental and ecological wildlife division and studies. Through Edison, we form a partnership with Edison and BG, and have it be like a satellite location for the schools to have ecological and wildlife studies at that, at 9300 North State Route 66. Not only that, but it could be open to the public, similar to what Bruckner Nature Center is, and have, you know, like habitat studies and rehabilitation. You could expand upon it to be more like a small version of like the Boonshoft Museum, or like a Wapakoneta Space Museum. That type of environment where kids can come out and, you know, since it's by the Johnson Farm,
Yeah.
and they're going to be going out that way, or if they could do like a field trip, they can come out and do a field trip there, and have it be you know, like something that kids can come out and learn.
Kind of like Bruckner.
Science and discovery,
Yeah.
Ecological wildlife. I think, and if you're bringing in all this extra funding through the schools, through a joint program, then that would also help with our hydraulic canal program. And if it helps.
30 seconds.
If it helps with the dams, then so be it. Or if it helps with any other project that we're going to be doing out there with possibly this stand tech or whatever, then it would be beneficial in that direction.
And I think
Either
it has
way.
merit, looking into what you're asking, we can talk to Edison, like I said, so.
That's just one plan for
Yep.
out there at 9300 North State Route
Time
66. Now,
expired.
Go ahead, finish.
Now, the fire training facility would be proposed to move out towards, this one's going to get me in trouble. Okay, so if we're using a fog machine, then stay with the fog machine. But I'm gonna say put it out towards behind Edison, and have it be an encompassing. It could even serve as a substation for Spring Creek.
All right.
And
Nick, I'm gonna cut you off
Yeah,
there,
I
but
know.
I wanted you to finish your point, so.
Yeah.
Thank you for that idea. And like I said, we will pass it on to Edison and see.
yeah, well, you have my email, so
I do,
and
and
I gave you the email about
Yes.
this.
A detailed one, thank
A
you very
detailed,
much.
very detailed one. Yes.
Very detailed, so
Okay.
thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Hello, I identify with Smokey the Bear. Homan?
Hold on, Diana, will you mark on your thing that Alicia Lang is, for the minutes, is speaking? Thank you. That goes against your time.
Thanks, Frank. Homan, I really had a lot of hope for you, you know, because you were down there holding protest posters with us. You show up on a bike path, you know, really had some hope. And that is gone. It seems like, I don't know, you love to hear yourself speak, like a superiority complex, you know? So maybe you don't get enough attention. The comment, those people, very rude. And your spirited, you called it spirited, was arrogant, presentation was arrogant and very disrespectful. I think that if you were to have done the job that people expect of the commission, the city leaders in town, all of you, like if you had actually done what we had expected, we wouldn't be here today. So the recall, we have not begun. We have plenty of signatures, actually. It's not
Good
gonna.
luck.
Thank you. I appreciate that. So I agree with Kim in the hazardous portion. I think that's great. I guess I just want to suggest that you stop your rude behavior, because we, the people, are your checks and balance system. And you don't have the right to slander. You've said liable things. And that's not really your right as the government. But you just want to sit there and continue to lie to our community and cover up. And with the exclusion of fire training, I also agree with what Jeff said in the nuisance. If it's a nuisance, that should be plenty, and it's absolutely a nuisance, as are you. I've actually taken time to speak with experts. I don't believe that you have by your spirited presentation, because you would have probably included quite a few other things. I actually spoke with someone, a week ago Friday, and he's a 55-year toxicologist, okay, was how long he was working as a 55 years, it's great, right? And he was concerned. He actually last week was supposed to do a fire conference in Vegas on how dangerous lithium-ion batteries are. And so I guess, you clearly have not spoken to any experts, and all you do is deflect up here. Let's talk about the future. Let's talk about my little thing I wrote up. But you know what we need to focus on is what has happened. And the smart-ass comments are just very unprofessional and unneeded. And I would just also recommend to this commission to take cues from the battery committee, because I heard them up here today, and they said they had some great rules that were put in place by the community and their committee. And, there's a few of them. There's not many. There's 4. But I think, be professional, Homan. We really want you to be professional up there, buddy. Okay, we know that you were just put in that seat. We didn't vote for you. But be respectful, be professional, and maybe leave the personal stuff out of it, because, that's not really what we're here for. It's disgusting.
30 seconds.
Thanks, Frank. I love me some Frank. He doesn't like to give me my FOIAs. By commenting and being a child in an adult's place, you make a mockery of our community. And Paul, I would love to send a letter of support for your departure. So if I can be of any help, let me know.
Mayor, I would like the record to also reflect that I never accused Ms. Lang of being one of those people. Those people being people that harass our police officers, assault college kids, send death threats, are out-of-towners, or people who aren't looking for solutions. But if she wants to self-identify with that group, I will allow her to do so.
Let the record reflect. Excuse me, no comments from the back. Thank you.
Eva Silvers, 319 3rd. Okay, let's just get to it. A 55-year toxicologist who probably needs to refresh his school courses. The EPA is just regulating forever chemicals, aren't they? So I don't think somebody that was in the field prior being the option there. Anyways, here's what I feel. I feel like if I get in my car, there's smoke. If I cook, there's smoke. If I go to a restaurant, there's smoke. If I go to the industrial, there's smoke. Manufacturing, smoke. If I go buy cars, they have fire retardant chemicals on it. Chemicals are a part of everyday American life. They are. I was on board with the whole battery burn. Where I'm not on board is blatant lies, okay? Blatant lies. And let's talk about those blatant lies. Statements have been made that refute the city's testing and say companies have been bought off. Well, I'm sure that the toxic crew that wants to make these statements and run an entire page about it have made enough on Meta, on YouTube, on TikTok, and the rest of them that they're more than free to go test themselves, correct? Hire an independent test, but we know that won't happen because that would further prove that the water and the land is safe. And let's talk about personal attacks to people. I find that astonishing, since we went from a topic of something that impacted every person in this community, a serious topic, to bringing an individual into our community, a racist, bigot individual at that, who wanted to be blatantly rude and condescending to every person he came in contact with, unless you were in this group. And as far as the group as a whole, as itself, they all started out with good intent.
Yeah.
However, good intent got moved for financial gain and not for this community, for a select few. So I'll ask again, if you truly believe that the water in the land is toxic, put your YouTube money where your mouth is and prove it.
Thank you.
Adam Cease, 201 West Water Street. Since we can use whatever the heck address we want, I'm going to use the city building. Boy, I haven't been up to speak in a while. Because I've been busy putting my money where my mouth is, investing my money in this community, almost $200,000 over the next 5 years, putting my business here. I could have gone to Covington a lot cheaper. I put it here because this is my hometown. And oh, by the way, I actually live inside the city limits. Mr. Holman, I appreciate it. I think if you ran right now, you would win handedly. Because here's the deal. I work out in the community, and like 99.9% of the people think you guys are doing a great job. Myself and most of the business owners that are part of the Chamber of Commerce do not want to see you go. Because you treat our checkbook here in the city the way it should be treated. Some people might not like that, but guess what? Fiscal responsibility is your job. So, oh, I could say so much. If I roll my eyes a whole lot more today, I think they might come out of my head. I have a headache from listening to the absolute stupidity of some people. You know what? I have a group that I have now turned over to Mr. Blackshire that I started on Facebook. That was the group that Mr. Grimes, I'll give him credit, and I have nothing bad to say about Mr. Grimes. At least he acts somewhat decent compared to some of these people. The circus, as I like to call them. She's the one who used the word, so I'll just give her the term circus because that's exactly what she is. And I'm allowed to say that because I'm a citizen. I really could care less.
Yep.
So anyways, that group is the one who brought this. And if I remember correctly, you were down there with us. She showed up later. That's fine. This whole thing just needs to be put behind us. This town has so much going for it. I got a chance to tour Lock 9. You can say what you want about it, but it's badass. That's the word I'm going to use. And sorry, Frank, I know it's not protected by free speech, but I'm going to say it since everybody else can. There are a lot of people in this community that I work with that put their blood, sweat, tears, and money into this community, and we are tired of this. If you want to act like a circus, go over to East Palestine, because from what I hear from some people over there, they don't like you over there either. I happen to be friends with, and I consider my second dad, a man who was a chemical engineer for 15 years and has been a medical doctor here in this area. And I asked him about the burns, and he said, well, he didn't think it was the greatest idea. He said, lithium is a mood-stabilizing medicine used to treat certain mental illness, such as bipolar disorder. Sounds like some of the people in the back of the room could use some damn lithium. Y'all have a great night.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. Any other comments about regulating the burning activities, this first reading of the ordinance? We will have that as a first reading then. Next is ordinance number O-7-24. First reading.
An ordinance repealing and replacing Piqua Municipal Code Section 3001.01.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. Jerry O'Brien, the City Finance Director. City Code Section 30.01 gives the city manager permission to settle claims against the city up to the amount of $2,500 without prior approval from the City Commission. Claims above that amount require permission from the Commission in order to settle. This proposed amended ordinance would change that amount from the $2,500 to the amount required for competitive bidding process for contracts, which is set by Ohio Revised Code That amount currently is $75,000. The $2,500 has been in effect for quite some time and seems rather low. This would give the city manager the same authority to settle claims that he has in regard to other types of contracts. So I would answer any questions you have.
So it's not a carte blanche thing, it's more of a uniform thing, and the commission doesn't hear every $2,500 settlement?
That is correct.
But it's reported on though, right?
Yes, so, like I said, it's the same level as other contracts, and any settlement claim above that amount would still require city commission approval.
Sure.
Jerry, can you give me an example of something that would fall under this?
Yeah, the types of claims, property damage, for example, maybe where a city employee, where a truck hit something on somebody's property, any type of damage claim like that against the city would be an example.
And this ordinance doesn't prohibit the city manager from bringing it to the city commission for information purposes. It just talks about his legal authority to enact action.
Yes, that's correct. Anything that the city manager felt that should be brought to the commission's approval, he certainly could still do that and would.
Is there any sense of urgency in this, or is this just kind of house cleaning to keep us going forward?
Just a house cleaning ordinance. Just like I said, it's been been in effect for some time. I don't know exactly how long, but quite a while. And $2,500 seemed rather low, so it was just more of a house cleaning ordinance.
My last question, Jerry, is this ordinance puts us in line with the Ohio Revised Code?
It does. Like I said, the competitive bidding limit is that we go by is set by the Ohio Revised Code, and this just establishes that to be in line with that code.
Thank you.
Any questions, other questions from commissioners? Any questions from citizens? We'll consider this a first reading then. Next on our agenda is the resolution number R-68-24.
A resolution awarding a contract to M&T Excavating LLC for the Ridge Street Water Main Extension Project.
Hello, Commission. Kevin Craney, Utilities Director. I've come to you before with grant funding for this project, and we're going to make it official. We are out for bid. Bids came in April 18th. $190,000 to the lowest bid of M&T Excavating out of Bradford. This project will replace 500 feet of 2-inch water line with 8-inch water line, reconnect to the 9 homes on that street, add a hydrant, some valves. So we feel good about this project. It was part of when we did the Fox Tower 6 or 7 years ago. It was part of that project, but it didn't get done then. So we had all the prints, we nominated this for the grant funding, and it was awarded. This project needs to be completed by the end of the year. Anticipated completion is around Halloween.
100,000 of it was grant funded, right?
Yes, yes, about half.
About half, yeah.
And the remainder would have come out of enterprise funds
Yes,
for the
it come out
water
of the
system? Or?
Water 403 fund, yes. I'll take any more questions if you have any.
Has the Underground Utilities Board heard the proposal, and how have they reacted?
Yeah, this actually has been on our list of potential projects since the utility board started a year and a half ago, so they're well aware of this project. And when we got the award, that we made them aware of that as well.
What kind of grant was it? Was it a state grant?
Yeah, it was part of the what they call like the COVID relief, and it trickled down to the states, and then the states got money, and then they had a special part of the Department of Development, which was for water and wastewater infrastructure. So this was how we got that.
Well, as wasteful as our federal government is with their dollars, we don't have any control of that here in Piqua, but I do commend you for being able to claw back some of that utility for us that we can use here on projects that benefit our community.
Yeah, we did apply for, I think, 5 projects at that time, so that we did get funded one, so that was good.
Any other questions from commissioners? Questions from citizens?
I'd move the approval of resolution number R-68-24.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution number R-68-24 passes. Next is resolution number R-69-24.
A resolution approving the Miami County 911 final plan for the Miami County Communications Center.
Who's reading that?
I'll go ahead. So,
thanks.
I'm sorry. The resolution before you is to go ahead and pacify the requirements of the Ohio Revised Code. I sit on the board of the Miami Valley Communications Center, and so this is part of the obligation they have is to submit the plan to the state through our resolution.
Is this the first time that we've actually moved on this resolution?
It's the first time I've seen it. I'm getting a nod across the room. It's probably been in play, but this is the first time recently that we've updated it.
The first time was in 1989. This is just updating it to be in compliance with the Ohio Revised Code. It's no change, it's just compliance.
Yeah.
Thanks.
And does this have a length of tenure?
Last time
That's
was
up to the
1980.
state, yeah.
It only gets updated if something gets changed.
Okay.
Basically what it amounts to is that we get our dispatch through the communications center, and this just allows for that.
Yeah, legal. Thank you.
Any other questions from citizens, or for commissioners? Any questions from citizens? I'll ask for a motion.
I move that we adopt resolution R-69-24.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor of resolution number R-69-24, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next is the city manager's report.
Good evening, Mayor and Commission. I just have one item this evening, and it's a reminder of the Taste of the Arts that'll be held Friday, May 17th between 5:30 and 8 o'clock. It's on the 300 and 400 blocks of Main Street. It should be a good time, and we're praying for good weather.
I can concur. I went to that last year. It was really good.
Yeah.
Really good.
There'll be more vendors this year.
Awesome.
Cool.
Sounds good.
I'm hungry already.
Buy your ticket.
Next are commissioners' comments. We will start with Commissioner Vetter.
Thank you. I have a number of things I'll go through briefly. Number one, I've had a couple of emails about what I would call the recreational fire ordinance. And again, I responded to that. The fire chief and others have shared that information. It is available online. And again, Piqua does not have a specific ordinance, but we're responding to a state kind of a process for that. So if you have questions about what you need to do to have a recreational fire and have it be legal in Piqua, I would refer to that. I'm under the understanding from the city manager that we will, in the summer, start the review process for the CIP program. For those of you who may not know that, this is the program where we start to talk about large expenditures that don't appear in a specific year's budget. Things like a fire truck, things like the Hans Pavilion, things like swimming pool, all those things are there. And I think it's been about 2-year cycle since we've done that. So it'll be coming up this summer. So if you have interest in those kind of things, this is a good time to do that. The next meeting of the Hans Pavilion Committee will be May 16th, 7 o'clock at the YMCA building. We have some ongoing business to take care of. And again, with the help of the Piqua Community Foundation, I think our minutes and other kinds of things are being made available. I'm curious, do we have a target date for the street repair resurfacing project that we'll be doing in '24?
Yes, that'll be at the next meeting, and we've just, because of the amount of business we've had, we postponed it, but we'll have a presentation for you.
I think a lot of citizens have had concerns for things. I also saw the street crews out with the tar and the macadam and all those things, repairing some potholes and those kinds of things. And so,
With that said, we got to watch any of the loose gravel for motorcycle riders as well.
Right, and that's just typical for any asphalt repair that we do. There'll be some raveling of the gravel, and typically they wait until it's the wheel tracked in, and then they'll come by with the sweeper and
Yes.
sweep it up. Grass is really more of an issue, though.
I wanted to give you a chance to say that. Yes.
thanks. Just a refresher that our spay and neuter program for cats is still active. We are looking for someone to help us expand that project. And so if we have someone here or in the city who would be willing to undergo some special training for that, we would be interested in hearing from that person. I've talked to several people about it, and I think we'd like to see that expanded, and the budget will allow for that. So, do we have a date for the next meeting of what I'm going to call the hydraulic committee? I know that's not.
Yeah, I don't have that handy, but I can get it for you.
Yeah, okay, thank you. This is designated as Clean Air Week by the Miami Valley Regional Planning Commission, and they are entertaining reports from the EPA, RAPCA, and other groups. The week is Monday, the 6th, which we've already had, through Friday, this coming Friday. So if you're interested in that, I think you can get on the website for the Miami Valley Regional Planning Commission, and they're talking about clean air in the region, not just Piqua or Miami County. I see on the agenda that we have a town hall meeting that is scheduled for the 16th, and I don't know whether we're hoping to continue to do that or not.
Yes, at this point, and it's to be announced.
I am concerned about a number of pieces of what I would call home appliances and couches and things like that. I know we have a number of them on the street. I guess I'm hoping that we can have a review of that process and see where we are with that.
I've seen a lot of mattresses, and a lot of people don't know that you have to wrap the mattresses in order for the city to take them. And so I had a next door neighbor that I informed, and a couple of friends of mine I informed, just wrap them up. And the city, once they did that, the city came by and took them right away. So.
I had a couple of friends who have started to refer to Piqua as the trash city. And it disturbs me that we have that, but it occurs to me that this is part of the issue in terms of carts and all things left out. So we have a project ahead of us that we have to work on. Last thing, last year with the budget process, we received what were called special events approval lists. And I don't think I've seen that for '24. So if we could have that updated, then that would be helpful.
Yes, we'll have that updated for you next meeting.
Yeah, thank you. I yield.
All right. Commissioner Simmons.
Hey, good evening. So let's see. I'm going to start out by swiping a little bit of content from one of my favorite musicians and comedians. Okay. Guy's name is Noel Paul Stuckey. I don't know if you guys ever heard of Peter, Paul, and Mary. Yep. But yeah, Noel Paul Stuckey. He's a really good musician, very, very intelligent guy. And he started talking one evening about magazines. And he said, you know, it started out that one of the first magazines that was out there was called Life. And Life is big. There's lots of it, right? And he said, and then they came out with People. Well, People's not all of life. It's just people, okay? Then they came out with Us, okay? Well, Us is part of people, but it's not them. It's us. And then they came out with Self. Yeah. And he wrapped up, he said, you know, any day I expect to see an offer in the mail for a magazine subscription to one called Me. And he said, you open it up and it's just aluminum foil. It's just me. You know, that's all you see.
I'd hate to pay for that.
The concept of those people predates any visitors we had from out of town, predates any videos with various members of our law enforcement community, predates any videos that they had of people on a college campus. It goes back to emails that went out that mentioned a few malcontents, which those emails came out before I got to sit in this chair, and I was out there. Hi, my name's Paul. I'm one of those people. Thanks.
You harass police officers, assault college kids, and send death threats?
Predates those. Predates those. The concept of those people predates those events. Back to the emails that said a few malcontents. That's my take on that situation.
Okay. Anything else?
No.
Commissioner Holman.
I am very confident that everybody out there who's not one of those people knows exactly who I'm talking about and what I meant. All right, I had somebody ask me about cannabis taxes. So we got a few weed places. I think that they prefer medicine dispensaries, but we all know what they are. So somebody asked about how does their taxes work? How does that benefit the community? And so I asked around. I got some information back, and I've got some sources where we can kind of continue researching that. If I find out anything else, I'll bring that up in an additional commissioner's comment in later weeks. Just to start off with, there is a ohio.gov website, ohio.gov/divisions and programs/cannabis control. And that has a bunch of information about how Ohio law regulates those industries, and it has some information about how it's taxed. Now, as for the specific dispensaries in our city, when it is dispensed in a medical context, and I'm learning this alongside everybody else as well, so this might be slightly in error. From my understanding, when it is dispensed in a medical context as a prescription, there is no sales tax on that transaction. We still have the property tax for the building, though some of those were on TIF land, and that was decisions made by the school district with that company. And so that was up to the school district to decide how that works with the property taxes. And then we've got income tax, which I know quite a bit of my income tax goes to the federal government, and then a bunch more of it goes to the state. And some of it does trickle out to Piqua. And so as of right now, the bulk of the tax revenue that the city itself is picking up from the dispensaries currently located here would be from income tax for their dozen or so employees. And then some from the property taxes that will make its way back out to the school system. Now, should there be some changes in the environment and recreational licenses are obtained for the area, recreational sales are then taxed as a sales tax. And that's where some of the promises of big windfalls would potentially come from. So hopefully that answers the question. If anybody else wants any more information or follow-up, let me know, and we'll kind of keep working on figuring that out together. My next point is to Chief Byron, and I apologize for throwing this out of left field at you. I did talk to the city manager about this, so it should be an easy to answer question. I had a constituent call me with a concern that your new position as safety director being over top of fire as well may come into conflict with an Ohio law that says that police officers are not allowed to take tactical control of a fire scene. And my discussion with the city manager and with that constituent, and hopefully you can help me confirm this, is that my understanding is that your role is purely administrative over fire, and that you would not be taking any kind of tactical or situational control over an actual fire.
That is correct. We do have a fire chief who maintains operational control of the fire department, complete operational control of the fire department.
So full compliance with Ohio law. Thank you. All righty. I want to thank Eva Silvers for setting up the community cleanup a few weeks ago. It was very nice. I've been biking on that trail for 7, 8 years now, I have not actually gone to a community cleanup to clean it up, but I finally did. Thank you for dragging me out there. I want to thank, let's see here, I've got a few people. Officer Caleb, I'm sure you're out there somewhere. Thank you for showing up. We appreciated seeing Piqua PD out there to help clean up the community. And also thank you to the city manager, Mr. Oberdorfer, for going out there. And yeah, and your wife, and we saw some other families out there. And thank you to everybody who showed up. It was a good time. I had fun. I met some people. It wasn't probably the most fun I could have had at that time, but it was certainly worth it to help clean up the community and help clean up the trail that I use so often. And it really showed that there are people out here who do care about keeping the city clean and picking up litter and doing the small stuff. Let's see here. I had somebody talked to me after last meeting that they had a concern that they wanted to bring up during public comment, but they were nervous to bring it up because it sounded boring. And that problem, Mr. City Manager, was that it sounds like sometimes the phone tree when you call City Hall just doesn't go to the right place, or there's loops in it. And you know, I would like for you to look into that. But the thing I found interesting is that they were concerned because it sounded boring as compared to some of the other exciting things going on in meetings. And I want to just reiterate to everybody, these are supposed to be boring meetings. These are supposed to be meetings where citizens can bring small concerns, where there's little inconveniences that need to be resolved. And you're more than welcome to bring those up during public comment. This is the perfect forum for those kinds of boring comments. That's what these are supposed to be. So don't feel like you need to have some big exciting thing or whatever. If you've got a problem, big or small, especially if it's small, please come and bring it to our attention so that we can get a handle on resolving that for you, because we're here for you and the small problems that you may have with city management.
We're not making money off of this, are we?
Off of what? Off of YouTube? Yeah. So yeah, don't feel like you need to have some zinger for YouTube or something like that. You know, if you've got a concern, please bring it up. This meeting's supposed to be for you. This meeting is not for YouTube revenues. And then lastly, I received a request to read out a letter.
Yes.
So I received, I wanted to read out to everybody here a letter that was sent to me by Kathy Sherman. She is the president of the Piqua Area Chamber of Commerce. Kathy writes, I am a lifelong resident deeply invested in the prosperity and well-being of our beloved community. I want to take a moment to shine a light on someone who has been instrumental in driving positive change in our community since stepping into the role of city manager, Paul Oberdorfer. Paul didn't just take on his job, he embraced a responsibility to make Piqua a better place, and he's been doing just that with his unwavering commitment and determination. In his somewhat short time as city manager, Paul has tackled challenges head-on that were previously swept under the rug. He didn't shy away from difficult decisions. Instead, he rolled up his sleeves and got to work. His significant areas of impact include addressing our blighted properties, not a decision that came easily, and our city's financial management. Paul treats our city's checkbook like it's his own, making decisions that prioritize taxpayer money, something that hasn't been done in years. These are just two of the many hard but right decisions that he has made as our city manager. Under Paul's leadership, Piqua is finally moving forward. Other cities are taking notice of the positive momentum we are experiencing. But let me be clear, this progress did not happen by chance. It's a result of Paul's vision, dedication, and hard work. Now, I know that change can be unsettling and there are differing opinions within our community, but I ask you to consider the tangible benefits we've seen under Paul's leadership. Our city is on the right track, and we cannot turn back now. That is why I'm calling on you, our city commissioners, to be champions of progress, of Paul and of the staff. Let's put aside differences to support Paul and his team. Let's publicly acknowledge the positive changes happening in our community and be vocal advocates for the continued growth and success of Piqua. Stop trying to remove him from his position, stop expending the useless energy, and instead use that energy to be positive supporters. Everyone needs to know that they are supported and appreciated. It's time we all take that responsibility on personally. Please stand behind Paul and the vision he has for our city. Kathy Sherman, president of the Piqua Area Chamber of Commerce. Kathy couldn't be here tonight, so she asked me to read that out for her. And I wanted to thank Kathy for that. And then now I'm going to add my own words. These are not Kathy's words, these are mine. There is a very loud but very small group of people who don't like the job the city manager is doing. A lot of those people don't even live here. The ones that do are net drains on city resources. They're the kinds of people who don't know how to take care of their own property and bring down the value of our homes. And some of them are people who helped the previous administration waste money and cover up corruption that the current city manager is trying to fix. Those are the people who think the city manager is doing a bad job. But if you ask the people who have a vested interest in this community, the ones who have invested their time, their money, and their sweat into this community, the ones who create the jobs in this community, the ones who are the tax base of this community, if you ask them, they think the city manager is doing a pretty great job, which in turn allows them to continue doing a great job for you. Given the choice between these two groups, I stand with Mr. Oberdorfer and his ongoing record of benefiting this city. And Mayor, with that, I yield my time.
Thank you. Commissioner DeBras.
Just a few things this evening, Mayor. I want to start off by thanking you and the rest of my colleagues up here for excusing me from our last commission meeting. I was out of town supporting my youngest daughter at her end of the year cheer competition. I was actually able to watch the meeting while I was out of town, and wanted to take a moment to thank RJ Monier for his presentation and all the work that he does. But more importantly, as the son of a retired utility office worker here at the city of Piqua, I wanted to take a minute to thank all the folks who work in the utility office. That is not a fun job.
It's not an easy job.
They deal with a lot of folks, and most of the time when somebody comes walk in to pay that bill or calls, the person on the other end of the phone is not very happy. So there are probably not too many people who understand what they go through on a daily basis. I don't either, but I did see what it was like from my mom coming home and sharing what she went from her day. So just wanted to take a minute to thank all the folks down in the utility office, and not to leave anybody else out, but I will get to you all in the services that you all help the city provide. But this week I'm going to what I know best, which is the utility office. I also want to take a minute to thank Kevin for bringing back the CAC group. I think he's ducked out of here. We had the first meeting that we've had in a little over a year. Kevin brought us up to speed on where we were with ODNR and a couple of the possible next steps. One of the things that came up from that meeting was the concern from some of the residents in the city about the canal, Echo Lake Front, Swift Run being lowered in anticipation of major rain events, and then the ramifications if we didn't get the amount of rain and what the water would look like until we got the rain to fill it back up. One of the recommendations was to put in a measuring spot to see how much is lowered and what that comes. And within a week or so, Kevin and his team had that out there and are recording that data. And the levels are back up and is good. So just wanted to specifically thank him for acting on that as quickly as what he did to get that turned around. And I saw pictures of it from last week that it was already out there. One other thank you that I have is, and I'm sure they've probably left by now as well, but for the members of the fire training committee, I was aware what we were asking them to do and the Herculean effort that we were putting on their shoulders. And I sat up here quietly and didn't have much to say while they were presenting or questions to ask. And part of that was because it was there was a moment of pride there, not for myself or not for this commission, but in our city. Those folks answered the call and volunteered to put forth their time, effort, and to use the resources that they have, so much so that they have now committed to meeting once a week to help us as a community to move forward from this. So that's not lost on me, and I am incredibly appreciative for them volunteering their time and their expertise. One last thing, Mayor, before the mayor is yours.
Sure.
Before the floor is yours, excuse me, I want to wish my dad a happy birthday.
Oh.
That's
awesome.
I did call him in between
better
executive
have.
session
You
and
better have.
coming out here, but as we are getting late in the evening, I might not catch him tonight before he goes to bed. So
Understood.
I hope to goodness he's not watching this on his birthday.
Yeah.
But surely somebody will see this and we'll shoot him a text. So with that, I'll yield back, Mayor.
All right, well, thank you. And I want to start out with my comments thanking Commissioner DeBras with coming up with the idea for the fire training committee, and Commissioner Holman for taking on the big task of doing the ordinance that we've asked them to do. Both of those in combination should show to the citizens, we've got nothing to hide. We've got nothing to hide. And I'm in full support of it, and we want to make this place better, and we want cooperation from the citizens as a part of it. Some information, Piqua prom was last week. Lots of good-looking young ladies and gentlemen out there, and Layman's prom is this week. As a proud dad, I have 2 kids that are on prom court for Layman. I was shocked because I think I only had, all the other kids that I had, one other kid that was on prom court, and he was on homecoming court, and he happens to be here tonight, sitting in the back of the room. So, but I'm proud of those guys, and they'll have a good time. I'm looking forward to those. Keep in mind that the 4th of July celebration for the cities at the Piqua Center. Think about going out there. It's a good time. There are going to be rides, food booths, activities. I hear there's a dunk booth that they're trying to solicit some of us commissioners for so that we could get dunked, and I don't want to break.
Rockstar.
Yeah, well, I'd be okay with that, but I don't want to break the seat on it, so I don't think I could be part of that, but I'm hoping that people will go out and have a good time. And keep in mind that the planning committee is needing a member. If you're interested in serving the city in that capacity, please sign up. It won't be opened first thing at 8 o'clock tomorrow, but look on the city website how to apply for it, and you can be a representative for the planning commission. And with that, I'd be remiss in saying, you don't have to like everything that goes on in the city, all right? You don't. And that's your prerogative. But we do have a city manager that works very hard and tirelessly and does a good job as possible. And there are some people that want to denigrate him, and I don't get that, because every time I see him working with citizens and going out and talking to groups, he's trying to do the best job that he can. And much like what Kathy Sherman said, not an advocate of change. I mean, it happens, I'm okay with it, I'm willing to go on. But if you got a good thing going, and right now we've got some good things going on in the city of Piqua, why can't we keep it going? So I support Paul Oberndorfer and hope that he understands that he has my unconditional support. Keep doing the good things that you're doing. If you were doing something we didn't like, we'd let you know that too, and we've done that. So just keep doing what you're doing, and we appreciate you. So thank you very much. And with that said, let us go to public comment. This is an opportunity for citizens to address the City Commission on agenda items. Comments are requested to be limited to 5 minutes. Please keep in mind, you're not entitled to your profanities, as that is not protected free speech. And with that said, please say your name and your address, even if it's 9300 State Route 66
Or 201 West Water.
or 201 West Water Street. So, anybody?
I would say I'm Elmer Fudd, 1 Acme Drive, but I think I'd get in trouble.
You would not.
Anyways, Eva Silvers, 319 3rd. Where did Paul take off to?
He went to the bathroom.
Of
I
course
just
he
saw
did.
him.
So, real quick, I want to talk about the cleanup. I had Tom, Tyler, Paul, and his wife. Mr. Spencer was out here. We had the Crooked Handle step in. We had Melanie at Elite step in. We had Lord Kaiser. We got a lot done in that time period. They got to see some of the old BMX tracks that we enjoyed when we were kids growing up, and an understanding of why community means so much. Tom and I talked about this. I think Paul needs to go mudding a little more. He's not too good on the gator, but in all reality, it gave us a chance to go out and look at what this community holds and why people are so vested in it. And I want to talk about that intent with this community, okay? And the intent you have when you do anything in your community. You know, I've done the community cleanups, I've done the bike path cleanups, I've done the search and rescues, we've done, you know, the homeless situations. We've done a multitude of things. We organized a ton of meetings that Josh spoke with about the rental registration. The intent there is because not everybody has time to look and see every aspect of that's going on in a day-to-day life. We work, we have jobs, we have families, we have reality. And that's true, and I want the community to understand that that's true not just with us in our personal lives, but that's true with you guys and anybody that holds a city seat. And the reality is, whatever transpired then has since then been rectified, has since then been changed to where it will never happen again. You can't take an old horse and beat it to death. You have to accept that no sitting party had knowledge fully of whatever it was that took part. So to cast the blame on new people and knowing these people are working on solutions and working to change it, that just doesn't, it's not logical. At some point, it's the intent and the motive of what you're doing. And I think the reason that you see me up here and you see me mad is because it is the intent. This is no longer an intent to make a change. It's no longer an intent to stop the batteries from burning. It's no longer an intent to make sure people are safe. This is just a blatant route attack. It's just attack anybody and everybody that could have maybe, possibly, potentially had a hand in it. When you don't know who these people are and you have no evidence that they had a hand in it. So like a misguided child, sometimes you have to redirect the attention to say, you need to understand your intent. And Tom, I give you all the credit for you and Frank on the fire proposal. It's great. You know, unfortunately, you're correct. We have a huge battle with the EPA. If it was so easy to deal with forever chemicals, the EPA wouldn't be just now testing in 2025 for them. So that just goes to show you, even at a federal level, they're still learning. There's still new things. We make new things every day. But in this community, there's a lot of people that invest money, invest time, invest blood, sweat. You know, we're talking about our city manager, and everybody may not agree with him.
Yeah.
You may not. That's completely your prerogative. But I will tell you this, I can guarantee you won't find another community where you see a city manager drag his wife out, go to a set of woods, pick up broken beer bottles, and use drug needles. He didn't have to do that.
That's right.
He must care a little. And I think it's time, even though we will never have the circus show quiet down, I think it's blatantly time just to understand there's a fire committee working on it. The water testing has been done.
Yep.
They've made enough funds off of the social media platforms. If they chose to have it tested independently, they could. I don't believe they'll do that because it will reinforce what we've already found. So I really think it's time for just citizens and businesses to just take a step back and say, we've heard enough.
30 seconds.
Let them come to the conclusion that they were made to come to and leave it lie. Because at this point, they're just beating a dead horse.
Thank you.
Jim Sheets, 729 South Downing Street. Before I get started, a few minutes ago, I said I'd like to shout out to a couple of local businesses.
Go right ahead.
Headquarters up on McKinley Avenue. Danielle, great woman. Please, she does hair. She does
love that.
my hair, and it's so beautiful. So, sorry. Anyhow, I just wanted to give a shout out to her. She's great, and she's pretty reasonable too.
Yes.
On that note, I don't know where to start. About a year ago, I started coming to these meetings and, I was trying to be commissioner. Congratulations, Jim, on that. But anyhow, it didn't work out the way I wanted to, but still, I come to these meetings. I've been wanting to get more involved in the city. And when we first started out, I've met great people in this town. Eva, one of them. Jeff, Alicia, all of them, great people. Then something happened, and we got a rift down the middle. It's sad. I work a company up north, and one of my vendors come in. He wanted to relocate. He wants to expand his business. 50 people. I know it's not big, but he was asking me about what's Piqua like. I didn't want to give him my opinion. I wanted him to find out for himself, so I had him watch meetings and check things out. Unfortunately, he changed his mind. He said, he just can't deal with the stuff that's going on. I said, I understand. And it was 50 jobs, high-paying jobs. Starting out, the lowest job was like $25 an hour, up to $30, $35 an hour. So we lost that, unfortunately, because of people not getting along, all this chaos going on. Like I said, I just don't know what to say about it. I come up with an idea. I don't know if this will work. I don't know if it will mean anything. I would like both sides, I guess there's two sides to this, to come together at a designated place, hash out our differences, talk respectively, not cussing, cursing, calling everybody names, just talk, find out what we really want, what direction we want to go, if that's possible with these people. And the stipulation is you have to have a 45356 address. Nobody from the outside, Piqua residents only. If anybody's interested, please contact me. I would love just to get with people, just to talk, find out where we stand, find out what you want to do, find out where you're at.
I would love to have you come at one of our town halls and have this talk.
That'd be great. I would love to do it. I'm not much of a
Perfect
speaker,
format
but
for that.
if it gets people, like you all said, we don't agree on everything, and we never will. I know there's things probably I don't agree with everybody up here. We don't have to.
We don't have
But
to.
we need a common ground.
Yes.
We need to make this city great. And to be honest,
What?
Tom, excellent job. Paul, excellent job.
Here?
With this.
What?
There's a tornado.
Tornado?
Oh, whoa.
Mr. Police Chief, can we figure that out?
Hearing anything?
See, I bring the weather.
You bring the weather.
I bring the
You
weather,
bring the
so-
storm.
Okay, well, I'll listen to
Hold
you.
on.
Anybody else would like to come up and speak
Anybody
for a little
else? Yeah.
while, but
Thank you.
we'll let our
Thank you, Mr. Chief.
emergency services let us know.
Kim Heisler, 1802 West
Go right
Parkway
ahead,
Drive.
Kim.
If things changed.
Yeah, we'll let you know.
Just real quick, I think it's been brought up many times and addressed at a very low level, that the land evaluation for the old water treatment plant, and I know it's been pawned off on, other people doing the evaluations and stuff like that, but is there any way that we can have a reevaluation? Because it doesn't happen for 2 to 5 years or something like that, and to wait that long is
Mr.
a little bit
Treasy said
ridiculous.
something.
So Kim, on that, first of all, the valuation they have out there for the county doesn't really matter because we don't pay taxes on it.
I
The city of Piqua doesn't. The city knows what the value of that property is, and we can get it appraised if we ever wish to sell it or do something with it. The auditor is its own animal, that's the county level. They do reassessments at various times. The next time they do that assessment, and I'm not sure when they're going to do it, but they said that they would would tell
But
the
it
person
might be
doing
5
that.
year, okay, so from a,
It's not going to be 5 years. They
Okay,
indicated within the
it's
next
probably-
couple years.
okay, 2 years. So as a citizen of Piqua, that is huge. And it makes me think, you know, why is it evaluated? What is happening in the future that we don't know about that's maybe going, I mean, aren't you guys curious at all?
I thought they said the evaluation was wrong. 'Cause it was
Right,
lumped
well,
in.
maybe
Well,
it
there's a
is, maybe
couple
it's
things
only
with
off $1 million.
evaluation. One is it covers, I believe, it covers all basically Swift Run. So it's all the property that encompasses Swift Run. Then it encompasses the building and the land that the water plant on, and some of the property across the street.
Which is incorrect.
It's a lot of land. I don't believe that it's correct either, but it
okay.
doesn't, even though they valued it that way, what they explained to me down at the auditor's office is they thought that the guy who did the evaluation thought it was part of the new plant, and he was kind of breaking it out with the new plant. So
But
they're
doesn't
going
it-
to correct that with him, and when we get the new
In
valuation.
2 years. Well, is there any way that we could
we
force
don't
that
have
Could
it.
along
ask
a
them
little
for a
bit?
reevaluation.
Yeah, because I mean,
no problem with
750,000 to
that.
9 million is huge.
Yes.
But Let me know if we need to get
We'll
more.
do that. I think, is it coming this way?
Yeah.
Keep
I think-
going,
I
keep
think-
going.
We got a touchdown just north of Greenville, and it's coming.
I think we should probably,
Probably a good idea.
All
anybody
right.
else that's in line will have the opportunity to speak at the next meeting. I need a motion,
Motion to adjourn on account of rain,
or tornado.
on account of tornadoes and rain.
Second?
Second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those in favor
Ah.
say
We're adjourned.
All those in favor say bye. Bye.
Plant sale.
Yeah, gotta get your license.
Okay.
Take care of your mom and your girlfriend.